Are you looking for a way to scale your short-term rental business and buy more properties? Well, co-hosting might be the right fit for you. Welcome to the Cohost Coach podcast with Joe Roney. This episode of the Cohost Coach is brought to you by Savvy STR Agents. If you're looking to buy a short-term rental, then contact the STR Savvy Agent team at savvy.realty.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Cohost Coach. I am Joe Roney, and I am excited for you to be here today because we are going to talk about something really, really exciting. Insurance. Okay, maybe it's not so exciting, but it's something that's really important to talk about. So, I see it in the forums all the time. People ask, what kind of insurance should I have? And if you own a short-term rental, it's really important for you to have short-term rental coverage. We talk about it all the time. There are people that have owned short-term rentals and they didn't get short-term rental coverage. They got a normal homeowner's policy or maybe a long-term renter's policy or whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden something happens and they're not covered, and there's stories of the cabin in Pigeon Forge that didn't have short-term rental coverage and burned down and didn't have any coverage. So the last thing you want to do in that space is not have the correct coverage. Well, in the co-hosting space, it's also important to have insurance. And there's multiple different avenues to have insurance, but at the end of the day, you are the property manager, and you potentially could be held liable for anything that happens in the property. So, it could be that, the homeowner that you're managing for has great coverage, and that's great. So step number one when it comes to co-hosting insurance is you want to have that owner put you and your business as additionally insured. It doesn't cost them any extra money. You're going to get a certificate from their insurance company showing you as additionally insured on their policy. And that's step number one. That's the very, very basic. You should get a new coverage every year that their coverage renews. You should get a new form in the mail to let you know, file it, put it in your file. You want to make sure that you have additional insurance covered by the homeowner and their current short-term rental coverage. But then you also really need to have your own policy. I only have one property or I only have two properties. I don't really need to have insurance. I'll be okay. Well, it sounds great until there's an accident and that accident and you didn't have the right coverage and they find you liable. So there's a couple of different types of insurance that you want to look into. There's not a lot of companies out there that do this type of insurance. There's obviously property manager insurance out there, and you can go the traditional property manager route. Wister is who I'm using. It's a sister company of Proper for insurance, for co-hosting. And a general liability policy is the first thing to have. And that general liability policy, and I'm not an insurance agent. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, all the ins and outs of everything that it's going to cover, but it's going to cover your butt. At the end of the day, it's going to cover your butt to make sure that if something were to happen in your property, that you have coverage. And it could be, and I'll use one example. Let's say somebody is going up the stairs and the handrail comes out of the wall. Well, the homeowner insurance comes out and says, well, it's the property manager's responsibility to make sure that that's not happening. They're responsible for the maintenance of this property. So we are not going to cover this. We want their insurance to cover it. Now, if you don't have insurance and someone fell down the stairs and broke a bone because that handrail came out of the wall, now that potentially is coming to you. So you want to make sure that you have some sort of liability policy. Obviously, you want to have a big enough or nice enough liability policy that you're completely covered. So, that's just one example. Another example, and I just saw this on the Build STR Wealth Facebook group recently. Justin Ford was talking about a accident at a pool and somebody that almost drowned, and they actually, insurance company for the person that was drowned actually went after not only the owner of the property, but also the co-host, and they had a camera, they had footage, everything was fine. There was nothing major that came from that. But that got me really thinking, and that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this today, is that you really want to make sure that you're covered. It's one thing to go out and build yourself, a six-figure business and really start helping owners make more money and start making a good course of money for your business to see it all go away in one insurance claim. And or one insurance claim that you're not covered for, right? So you definitely want to make sure that you get covered and you have yourself a liability policy. The other type of insurance that they're going to talk to you about is errors and omissions insurance. And as a realtor, I sell real estate in both Missouri and Florida, mostly with short-term rental investors with the Savvy team. And we all have errors and omissions insurance, and that's on every single real estate transaction we ever do. Because in paperwork or in accounting or in whatever it may be, there might be a time that you make a mistake on the paperwork. And it could be a mistake that you did that cost that owner tens of thousands of dollars. Not saying that would happen, but you never know. That's the reason why you have errors and omissions insurance. So if there's some sort of error in the documentation, in the paperwork, in all the different things that you're doing, you want to make sure that you have that coverage. So I know it seems, kind of trivial that maybe you don't need all that, but I'm telling you, it only takes one bad accident for you to realize that you're going to need it, and that one accident could make it too late. So those are two of the main policies you can have. There is a third one that you can do, and making sure you have an additional umbrella policy over you and your company. So, and that's not bad to have. You can get an umbrella policy for, $300 to $700 a year, depending on how much coverage it is and, what type of businesses you have. So, you definitely can have add an umbrella policy on top of that. And, it's really easy to say that we spend way too much money for insurance. And I 100% agree with you. It is way too much money until you need it. And then when you need it, you realize, I paid for all this insurance for all these years for this. This is that one time that I really need it. And if you don't have it, you're going to really, regret it because you're not going to be able to afford, or, it could potentially put you out of business. So insurance is not a great topic to talk about, but it is something that's real. And in the co-hosting space, there's a lot of co-hosts out there that they think, oh, this is an easy business. I can manage it from home. I don't need to visit the property. I have a handyman that's going to do that. And that's it. Well, I'm telling you, you need to visit your properties, because those little things like that handrail that came loose, or the brick that's cracked on the patio next to the pool, or whatever it may be, your handyman may not see that. Your handyman may not actually, report that. And you may have an accident that happens and you say, oh, well, that was the handyman's responsibility. Well, show me your contract with the handyman. How many of you actually have a written contract with your handyman? I'm going to guess it's about zero. Most handymen are not going to have a contract with you. You may have an employee under your business, and that employee handles it. Then obviously it comes down to your company. But at the end of the day, you definitely want to have insurance. It's really, really important. So that's really my spiel for this week. Make sure you go out and get yourself some co-hosting, liability coverage, errors and omissions, and probably umbrella policy over the top. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 or 100 properties, you definitely want to make sure you're covered. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching the Co-Host Coach. I am Joe Roney, and I will see you next week.